Well, thank y'all for joining me this afternoon. My name is Blake Aldridge. I'm the Water Education Coordinator with the Upper Trinity Regional Water District in Louisville. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the district here in a minute, but the main topic for today's discussion is water-wise sprinklers, or just tips. Going to share some tips on how to water wisely over the summer to avoid overwatering and making sure to keep your yard healthy. All right, first I like to start off with, thinking about water in our daily lives and how much water certain items take. So first would be some certain beverage types that many of us enjoy. How much water does it take to make one glass of beer? Almost 20 gallons. How about a glass of wine? Coffee. 34 gallons of water for 1 cup of coffee. 1 glass of wine is 32 gallons of water. So if we're thinking about, the crops or the plants and the water they need to grow, the items that would go into the beverage, all the way through the processing, manufacturing of the beverage, this is what we come up with. Now, getting to some other items, a pound of beef takes over 1,200 gallons of water. A pair of jeans takes 1,800 gallons of water, and a pair of shoes takes 2,100 gallons of water. So, even the things we eat, the things we wear, have a big water footprint that we need to think about when we're, going around our daily lives. And I would venture to say our smartphones require a significantly amount more water than these items. And so, just, something to keep in mind on the way we think about water. So the Upper Trinity Regional Water District was created in 1989. We're a regional water and wastewater provider for 29 communities in Denton and Collin counties. This is our Thomas E. Taylor Water Treatment Plant in Louisville. You can see there just above the text. And then looks like big swimming pools down there. And then in the background, or the top of the photo, is Louisville Lake. And so we pull our water out of Louisville Lake and we bring it to this treatment plant, which can treat up to 70 million gallons of water a day. Our Tom Harpool Water Treatment Plant is on the north end of the lake in Providence Village. It's actually a different type of treatment plant. It's a membrane filtration, because it's in that big building on the right side. And this is actually an older photo, probably about 4 years old or so. We've actually been upgrading, expanding this plant, so it can, I believe, treat up to 26 million gallons of water a day, and we expect that to just continue to expand and grow as many of the communities up in that northeast corner of Denton County and western Collin County, particularly the city of Salina, continue to grow extremely rapidly. So this is a look at our service area, the communities that we serve. So you see a lot of communities south of Denton, but that, as I mentioned, that northeast corner of Denton County and city of Salina and Collin County are rapidly growing as well. So we see lots of water usage going up that way. Our current water sources, we actually purchase water from the cities of Denton and Dallas, from Louisville and Ray Roberts Lakes. And we also have contract with the City of Commerce to pull water out of Chapman Lake and bring it in a joint pipeline with the City of Irving over to Louisville Lake. And then you see Lake Ralph Hall there in Fannin County, just north of the city of Ladonia. We actually broke ground on this new reservoir last week. And so We expect and hope to have this completed and being able to deliver water by 2025 or 2026. And so in the past 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, according to the census, we added 1 million people to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're expecting to add another million by 2030. And it's that growth just, according to all the projections, just will continue like that for decades. And so, but the problem is these folks don't bring their water with them. And so we have to not only plan for new water sources like we are with Lake Ralph Hall, but we need to look at ways to use our current water sources more efficiently. Because we never know what a year is going to hold for us. We can deal with drought or floods. And so these weather extremes that we like to have here in Texas definitely puts a strain on water resources and water infrastructure. So looking at why conservation matters, according to the State Water Plan, they're expecting a 25% of all new water needs in the future being met through conservation. So that means being more efficient with the water that we have now. But definitely in a smaller time scale, we want to definitely look at reducing our seasonal demand or peak demand. And the next slide will have a chart that really shows that very well. It increases our community sustainability as we're able to adjust better to periods of drought or flood, especially as it pertains to our infrastructure. It's the cheapest source of water because we already have it, and could lead to greater economic productivity as we're able to do more with less, then that means we can do more. So going back to that seasonal or that peak demand, so that's basically when I say peak demand, that's how much water we use in one day. So in this chart, you see the daily water demand focusing on the blue line, that's fiscal year 2018. So we're looking at October 1st through September 30th. And you see in the January, February timeframe, we're kind of hovering right at or just below the 20 million gallons of water treated and used every day. And then we get into the hot part of the summer, July and August, and we really see it spike up. And you can see that day, August 5th, 2018, in that yellow box, we treated and pumped out 65 million gallons of water in one day. And that was, if you remember that period, if you were here, that was a 2-week stretch or so where we had temperatures well above 100 degrees. And so sprinklers were going off quite frequently and for long periods. And so just the point with this is that our infrastructure has to be designed to meet these peak demands. So by reducing our peak demands, we can maximize the useful life of our infrastructure before we need to, put down bigger pipes or expand our water treatment plant. All these things cost millions and millions of dollars. And so, and it all comes back on us as we pay our water utility bills because we don't receive state funding or tax support. All of our funding comes through water and wastewater service. And so we want to be able to maximize. And then if we need to expand these things as population grows, we can do that over time, but the cost will be spread out. And plenty of research has shown that good water conservation measures will actually keep water rates lower over the long period than if for those reasons, mainly around water conservation. Of course, we do have to deal with things like drought and population growth and limited water resources, but definitely the more limiting factor on a year-to-year basis is the water infrastructure. So that's our biggest water user in our area. We do have 3 key water saving action areas that we focus on. The first would be fixing leaks inside and outside the home, making sure to promote high efficiency or water sense labeled fixtures and appliances, which can also help you save energy as well. That's energy savings has been a big topic of conversation here the last few months, I'd say. And then limiting outdoor watering is by far our biggest focus, which also can help with our energy use. It takes incredible amounts of energy and power to pump water from place to place. So by limiting outdoor watering, we have multiple benefits. So first, let's get to know our sprinklers. Kind of focusing on the photo on the right, you see the bottom part of a sprinkler head is called the body. And then above that, you have the cap, which is actually where the sprinkler will sit at ground level. The cap will be at ground level, and then that riser pops up when the zone is turned on. And then the water actually comes out of that nozzle, which is on the top of the riser. So how much water do our sprinklers actually use? Well, if we have spray heads, they use about 3 to 5 gallons per minute. Rotor heads, this is actually a typo. I've seen rotor heads, I've seen a wide range, but I've seen some that can put out 14 gallons per minute, some that put out 3 gallons per minute, and then I think everything in between. These multi-stream nozzles, which I'll actually talk about in a different presentation in July, 2 of those scheduled, I'll talk about at the end. Those can do up to 3 to 5 gallons per minute. So let's talk about a little scenario. Say at your house you have 6 zones with 6 spray heads in each zone, and you run each zone for 10 minutes. So that's 36 spray heads times 10 minutes times 3 gallons per minute, being conservative on the lower end. This is just one cycle around your house that you would do, 2 or 3 times a week for most people. That's over 1,000 gallons of water each time you run those sprinklers. So this is key that we want to make sure people realize how much water sprinklers actually use. So the dreaded irrigation controller. It looks difficult, and it can be at times, but once we get to know a few of the concepts, it's really not that bad. The first is our program. Most controllers have 3 or 4 programs on them, so that's program A, B, C, or D. It's important to know what the settings are on all the programs. There was one lady that I went to help. She thought she was watering 2 days a week. She got a big water bill, and I went and was checking her sprinkler controller, and she was not watering 2 days a week. She was watering 5 days a week because she had a different program that she didn't know was on, and it was watering another 3 days. So she was using a lot more water than she knew. Your run times is how long that zone will run in minutes. The seasonal adjustment, which is a feature to help you cut back on water certain times of the year. And then your manual settings, this is going to help you do your 1 to 2 minute tests to check your system, which I'll talk about later in the presentation. Or if you don't want to program, you can just go out here early morning and, you know, set your certain zones to go off for a few minutes is another easy way to do it. Here's a different type of controller. So it looks a little different. And so with this one, you actually have to go to each zone and then program it from the settings on the right. So that's how you would set your days, set your, you know, how many times that day you're going to water, and then on the screen will come up run times as your seasonal adjustment, and then your manual for testing or just for watering when you want to. So when I talk about the seasonal adjustment, it's based on what the plant, how much water the plant actually needs. So instead of, if you look at the orange line, I think this is probably what a good percentage of folks do. If you see on the bottom, we have months. On the right side is percentage of water needs for a plant. So 100% would be fully growing. So in a lot of cases, people will turn their sprinklers on in March, April, or even May to the schedule they had over the summer, the previous year, and just leave it at that until, you know, November, December, and then hopefully turn it off. Whereas if you check out the blue line, that's the amount of water plants actually need. So as we're coming out of winter and early spring and everything starts greening up, water needs will start going up, but very slowly. It's not until we get to July and August that we need 100% of our water needs, and then it starts going back down in September. So all this watering done is overwatering. It's unnecessary, and it's not really being utilized by the plants as much. So to help alleviate and kind of figure out, help homeowners be able to figure out how much they need to water each week, we partnered with Texas A&M, who has they have a program called Water My Yard. This is a program based on, this is a photo of a weather station. We have 3 of these in Denton County, one here in Louisville, one in Argyle, and one in Providence Village. So every day this collects weather data and sends that data to Texas A&M down in College Station. From there, they will use that to figure out, knowing how much water the plant actually needs, plus based on the weather data. And if you go in, create an account and tell them what kind of sprinklers you have, whether spray or rotor, drip, multi-stream, every week they can give you a recommendation on how long to water your yard in minutes. So you can go to this website, watermyyard.org, or they do have an app, which I'll get to in a minute. But in 2020, lawns only needed watering for 22 weeks during the whole year. So what we really want to emphasize is that sprinklers are really only meant to supplement the lack of rainfall, not to be kind of a standard, just put out the water. And so this way we're going to be more efficient with our watering. They do have an app, Google and iPhone apps for Water My Yard, and they're continually making them better. And so I would encourage everyone to go at least sign up for that to help keep track of, you know, what it, you know, week to week, what conditions look like for our local area. Now getting into, you know, what time of day to water, how often, you know, how many times a week. So starting with time of day, many cities in the North Texas area have ordinances not allowing watering between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. And that's to cut down on water loss due to evaporation during the hottest part of the day. So a good kind of rule of thumb is not to water while the sun is up. And then we really want to focus on early morning. If you do it, before midnight, say 10 p.m., you do run a greater risk of, as that water sits on the plants overnight, introducing fungal diseases and things like that could impact the health of your plants. So early morning, 3 to 6 a.m. is a great time. It's the coolest part of the day, so the water is going to absorb into the soil and help out the plants in a great way. Now, how many times a week do we need to water? Well, Texas A&M turfgrass specialists have done some research showing that no more than 2 days per week is needed, and that's basically to help build our turf grasses and other plants to be more resilient. So having these, what we call, mini drought periods between waterings, really helps train these plants, turf grasses in particular, to send their roots deeper into the soil in search of water, and to be able to access the water that is in the soil. It's just deeper. And so what you don't want is a grass baby that needs to be watered every day or every other day. And so this is going to help you, if next week, we get up above 100, your grasses won't just wither away quickly. So definitely helps your landscapes to be healthier and more resilient to weather changes. Even including, we had the deep freeze in February. If they have those deeper root systems, it's going to help plants be more resilient to all kinds of weather changes. Now, looking at foundations and young trees, we do have, with our wonderful clay soils here in North Texas, we do have a lot of foundation problems. And so a great way to save water, instead of running your sprinkler system to water the foundation, a great way is to place a soaker or drip hose 8 to 18 inches away from the foundation of the house, and to run it. I get asked a lot, how long should I run these? I just say until the soil is saturated, or if you even see water kind of flowing. At my house, I know, because once it starts kind of flowing down the small hill I have down towards like the little drainage area, then I know, okay, the soil is not going to absorb any more water, time to turn it off. And then you can do that multiple times per week, because these soakers and drip hoses are much, 95% more efficient than spray heads at delivering water to the soil. With trees, definitely, like you see in the photo, out more towards the drip line, the furthest branches. But really, after about 3-4 years after establishing a tree, you really shouldn't need to add this kind of supplemental water unless we're in like a really extended drought. And the reason for that is the same as, thinking about the turf grasses. We want our trees to send their roots deep into the soil, and trees, they can go several feet into the soil, and so they can find water, and we want them to go deeper to find that water. And that way we'll have healthier trees. Now, thinking still about our nice clay soils and how much water they don't absorb, or at least, at a good rate, is what we call a cycle and soak method. So you see two photos of cases where we are watering too long at one time. So what's happening is the soil cannot absorb any more water. So the water is just running off the surface, and you see, especially on the right, it's running down the street. So what we don't want to see is you wasting water, because you're paying for this water. We want you to keep it on your yard where you can use it. So that's where the cycle and soak method comes in. Instead of doing one long cycle, we can do shorter cycles, like 5 to 6 minutes for spray heads or 10 to 15 minutes for rotor heads, and run one cycle, wait about an hour, do another cycle, and if you need more after that, can wait an hour between cycles to allow that water to absorb into the soil. And you can use this on those water my yard recommendations, because they'll just give you total minutes of runtime for a week. So you can just split those recommendations up into 5 or 6 minute cycles over your 2 days, and there you have your what you should water in that week. So the next big thing is to sprinkler maintenance. So it doesn't matter what time of day or how many days a week we're running our sprinklers. If they're not working properly, they're not going to do us any good. This is a sprinkler head at my house, and that foot is one of my kids. So yeah, he's a little goober. But we want to check for broken heads and nozzles. And this sprinkler head in particular, I was annoyed at, because the previous week I had replaced it, and so it had already broken after a week. So I was not too happy, but that's okay. So we would definitely look for broken heads or nozzles, or misaligned heads that are spraying the driveway or the street. Want to look for clogged nozzles. There should be a nice even stream of water coming out, and if it's not, then you probably have a clog. Sunken heads that the riser is not getting up above the grass to be able to throw the water out. We want to fix that. And then plant obstruction, even just weed eating the grass around the sprinkler heads, or cutting back shrubs is going to help. Some may not be as obvious. Some issues may not be as obvious as that last one. On this sprinkler head, you can see the sprinkler is still working, but there's bubbling up from underneath, which is indicating something is broken. And then you can even see they're spraying the street quite a bit. So we need to turn that nozzle and get that spray pattern covering only the grass. Here's another broken head that needs replacing. Here's another one that needs replacing. You can see the where someone looks like driven up onto the grassy area and had whacked this sprinkler head. That's not good. I don't know if y'all knew that we actually have geysers here in our area, and right next to the road. Isn't that great? And then a lovely little fountain for folks driving down this busy road. So fixing issues like this is critical, because one broken sprinkler head can waste up to 10 gallons per minute. So if you remember, I said spray heads can put out about 3 gallons a minute or so, but when they're broken and they're spewing water like this, it's more like 10 gallons per minute. And not only that, but one sprinkler head is going to affect the performance of all your other heads in that zone. So here is a quick video showing some of these, some quick fixes on irrigation systems. I don't know if you'll be able to hear the sounds or not. It's just music, but you can watch. Great. I also want to make a note about drip lines. These are, like I said before, great at delivering water directly into the soil, but these also need to be checked. This was a drip line that had been cut through that at a lady's house that I visited, and just assuming everything is working right can lead to problems. So just doing a 1 to 2 minute check of each zone, and we recommend doing that monthly, especially during the spring and summer and early fall when you're using your sprinklers. It's going to help you catch these problems quickly. If you do need help with bigger maintenance issues, things like that, or you're just not able to do it, then we do have a recognized green professional program that we do in partnership with AgriLife Service and Tarrant Regional Water District, where it's basically a continuing education series for landscape and irrigation professionals. And they pay to attend this. So we update them on important conservation trends, new technologies in irrigation, new landscaping trends, things like that. And so we know that these folks are more conservation, sustainability minded. And so we would encourage you to go to that link and view the directory and see where these folks can, see which companies could serve you. Another great way to reduce our outdoor watering needs is to incorporate native and adaptive plants into our landscape. So there's all kinds of different plants out there, from flowers to shrubs to trees. Turf grasses are a little more limited, but there are other things like zoysia, buffalo grass, things like that can help. And this is a good website to start at. It's txsmartscape.com. And then we also do partner with some of the other water districts in our region, and with a company called Rooted In, and they develop these Go and Grow garden boxes. You can see in that bottom on the right corner, bottom right, you see these boxes, and they have different types of garden or landscaping boxes. So they have pollinator plants, shade-loving plants, edible plants, and just Texas native plants. So this fall, they're going to have the shade landscaping and the pollinator boxes for sale. So definitely keep in touch with our newsletter or our Facebook to know when those go on sale. This is, you see the photo on the left. These types of plants are not only great for keeping your water needs low, but for attracting bees and butterflies and hummingbirds and other things, along with having just beautiful variety of flowers and things like that in the landscape. So to kind of recap with our outdoor water saving actions is to limit our outdoor watering to only as needed and at the right time of day, the right number of days per week. We want to maintain our sprinklers to keep them working properly. We can upgrade our sprinkler system, which I'll talk about in a future presentation, which I'll mention here in a minute, and then to incorporate native and adaptive plants into our landscape.